Welcome to the inaugural season and very first episode of Off the Green. We are your hosts. I'm Anthony Bruno, and he's Wade McFarlane.
For most of us golf fans, tour events start on a Thursday and go to Sunday. We watch 4 rounds of golf, and then we wait for the next week to begin. But one guy has made Mondays his staple, and we're not talking about playoff Mondays. We are talking about qualifying.
And the man we are talking about is Ryan French. In 2018, he started Monday Q Info. He now has over 115,000 followers on Twitter. So since he started this, he has become the go-to guy for all things Monday. He highlights some incredible underdog stories, but has also used his platform to pay it forward in some amazing ways. So we hope you enjoy our conversation with Ryan French.
Ryan, thanks so much for joining us here, man. It's great to have you on. It's great to talk to you. You're joining us from Michigan, I understand. We're going to start things off with the icebreaker question. This is what we're going to start off every podcast with. So I want to know right now is, what are you watching? If you're binging something, if it's a TV show, if it's a movie you watched recently, what is the last thing that you watched that you would recommend for us and our listeners to watch?
Sure. I am not. I mean, like when I say I'm a golf nerd or a sports nerd, like that's basically what I do. And I have 2 kids, and so don't have much time to do any of that stuff because most of it's spent cruising mini tour scoreboards. But Top Gun, the new Top Gun movie, my wife and I watched. So my wife is younger than me, and by 8 years, and missed a lot of like the old school Top Gun, Boys in the Hood, like times from my age. So we've gone back and watched that, but now we watch the new Top Gun. So yeah, and I recommend it. It was, I mean, it's cheesy as hell, but it's super good.
Man, I was just saying to Bruno before we came on, like we just watched Top Gun. So my girlfriend and I just watched Top Gun. I have seen the original. It's been a while. Like it's been some time, so I didn't remember a lot of it, and you don't need to remember a lot of it to see the new one. The new one is just awesome. It's like 2 hours of action-packed Tom Cruise, like let's just go nuts in fighter jets, and it's incredible. It's highly recommend it. Oh man, it's
I still gotta watch it, guys.
Oh dude, you gotta watch it.
I haven't watched it yet, so that's definitely on my list.
Yeah, it's kind of the movie like you don't have to really think a lot, it's just kind of like chill out. And for us, like we have a movie night every once in a while, put the kids to bed early, and like we don't want to like get into super thoughtful, needs a lot of thinking. It's like kind of the plot's right in front of you.
It's right there, and it's so good that they do it like all practically too, right? Like so much of it. I don't know if you've seen the behind the scenes stuff, but it's just crazy like what they put their bodies through to make it happen. But yeah, okay, so turn it to golf. This is why you're here. For those who don't know, Ryan is the founder of Monday Q Info. I've been following you for a few years, Ryan, and I'm a huge fan of your work, so it's great to have you on. But this is about you also, as well as your company. So the first question for you is kind of, what's your first golf memory? Like what made you fall in love with this game, and why golf for you, really?
Yeah, I grew up in a small northern Michigan town, and my backyard was a golf course. It was the local muni, and my dad played, and yeah, I mean, when I was 6, he took me out, and that was it. Yeah, I mean, a little sidebar here is, when I was 6, our TV blew up, and so while watching the NHL playoffs, good Canadian reference, and we were watching the NHL playoffs, and we never got it fixed. So my whole childhood, it wasn't like my parents were not against TV, or like we could have afforded one. My mom and dad were just like, oh, we'll see how it goes for one day, 1 week. And my parents didn't have a TV for like 30 years. And so they do now, and they watch a lot of TV, which ironically, but yeah, so I didn't really, it was kind of a lot. Part of it was I was just bored, like when my friends weren't around and I lived on a golf course, I went and played golf with my dad. So, but I learned to love it, and my dad and I played all the time together.
So would you say that your father was your biggest influence then in the game of golf?
Yeah, 100%. I'm working on a book with Michael Bamberger, and talks a lot about, it wasn't a perfect, a lot of life lessons happened on the golf course when I was older, obviously not when I was 6, but in high school, it was always my dad and I's place to kind of bad grades, girl problems, friend problems, at home problems, whatever. It was a place my dad used to take me, and I was trapped. I couldn't really go anywhere. So, really, I think for a lot of people, golf has always been more than about golf. My dad has dementia now, and so a lot of reflection on those years, and yeah, it wasn't always fun, but it was important for sure.
Right on, man. Okay, so I guess the next question for you is, Monday Q Info. This is your brainchild now, and it is, what you make a living out of. Why Mondays? Why Monday Q Info? Why did this start for you? How did this start for you? And kind of, did you ever really expect it to get to this point?
I didn't expect anything remotely close. So, I didn't start it to be a thing. I didn't think I wasn't trying to fill a niche or anything, but quickly of why. My dad and I used to take a caddy trip after I played community college golf, and then realized that I couldn't play Division One golf, and there was a lot of good golfers. And then after college, my dad and I used to take a caddy trip and go caddy on mini tours, and that was kind of my introduction to the life of. I always say two things, guys. Is one, how good the guys are or girls that aren't on the top tours in the world, and second of all, the biggest thing was uh, the the life that they lead. Right? I think all of us. I say this all the time when I talk about this. Is like all of us have been to a minor league baseball game. We know where minor league basketball is played. Like where minor league, the junior hockey, and it's organized, and minor league golf is not. It's fractured, and no one's ever been to a mini tour, or 99.9% of people have never been to a mini tour tournament. So it's kind of like golf has always been thought of as like, oh, there's people on the PGA Tour and they're super rich, and that's it. And there's just a whole world that isn't. So it was a wake up call for me. I tell this story is my dad and I's tradition was that we camped, and we were in this public campground. In the morning of the first day, I went into the public restroom, and there was a player next to me, and I was just like, it blew my mind that a professional golfer was at a campsite, and it kind of hit me like, oh, these guys don't have the life that you think they have. And the guy was very nice, and just like, yeah, I saved money by pulling my camper around to every event. And so that was the introduction of it. Fast forward many years, my son had brain surgery now 5 years ago, almost 5 years ago, and I left my job soon after to kind of nurse him back to health. And my wife had our health insurance, and so I did this with zero expectations. I thought if I had 100 followers, that would be a lot. It was more of something for me to do. I ran a group of restaurants prior to that, and it was just like I needed an adult outlet. We have 2 children, and they were 4 and 2 at the time, and I really just needed something to like adult to do. So I started with zero expectations. Never in a million years did I think that this would be anything. 100 and whatever, 15,000 followers or whatever is. It might as well be a million. I have never in a million years would I have thought that.
That's incredible, man. From something that you started out just for fun to go from 0 to over 115,000 followers. It's incredible, man. You've helped and touched a lot of people. So yeah, it's amazing to see how you started that and what it's turned into. And you kind of alluded to this already, but I know that you've caddied a lot and that you've collected bibs from a lot of these events. So you've walked side by side with these guys, right, on these mini tours that are fighting to make a living. What do you think is the one thing that most people don't understand about these players?
Yeah, it's how good they are. It's not even close. Like the biggest thing is that sometimes there's no difference to the top players on many tours are just as good as the 50th or 100th best player on the PGA Tour. They just haven't played well at the right times, or don't play well at Q school or whatever. 100%. Like you could give a lot of guys who play mini tours, a PGA Tour, if you could give them a PGA Tour card, they could keep it, right? Like they're not going to be top 20 in the world or anything like that. But if you took the 100th best player on the PGA Tour and he made over $1 million last year and handed it to a good mini tour player, he would probably be able to keep it. But even for players that are a little less than that, we're talking about fractions of maybe 1 stroke over 4 rounds or 2 strokes over 4 rounds. There's just, and there's not one thing you can point to. Someone might be driving or mental or whatever. There's things like people just have no clue how good the top players in the world are. And I'll make a football reference. I just went to a Lions game, a Detroit Lions game, and we were watching the second and third string quarterback warm up, right? And everybody, if you looked at the stats and the guy, you'd be like, oh, he sucks. And he's throwing 50-yard bombs over and over and over again, and they are perfect. Every pass is perfect. Like, these are the best of the best. And it's the same thing with golf. Like, Mark Baldwin, who I've caddied for on the PGA Tour a couple of times, been lucky enough. Like, if 99.9% of players played with him, it would be by far the best golfer that you've ever played with. He would crush anyone at your club. This isn't a guy who's like, I'm a scratch golfer, I'm going to go try. This is like a very, very good golfer. So 100%, it's people have no clue how good people are, how good players are.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I had the privilege of caddying for a PGA Tour of Canada event, and that was the one thing that struck me, was that the fractions between this guy and a PGA Tour player, right? Like the difference between these players and the guys who are making $20-30 million a year is so small. It's so incredibly small compared to what we think it is, right? And how do you get better? Sometimes it is just having a good day on the right day. But yeah, I think that's a great point, Ryan, because it was the one thing for me that blew my mind when I was caddying out there too. It was just like these guys are unbelievable. They're unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go back to Mark Baldwin. Like we teed off. Mark got an exemption into the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am last year, and he played very well the first 3 days. And we were, I think, T19 heading into Sunday. And for those that don't know, if you get a top 10 on the PGA Tour, you get into the next event. It basically changes your life. Mm-hmm. And we figured out after the round that had he shot 68, he would have finished in the top 10. He shot 75. We're talking about 7 strokes. Obviously, in one round, that's a lot, mm-hmm. but just having a good day, right? If he has a good day, 68 is 100% in the cards. He had just shot it at the same golf course the previous 3 days. He shot a 68 at Spyglass, which is the hardest of the 3 courses. So, like, and now he doesn't have any status. He has nowhere to go. Like, he was 1 round away from changing his life, and he competed, and he was beating major champions. And, again, he had the opportunity. So yeah, the line of making it and not making it is razor thin.
It's crazy. And sometimes it's just like luck, because as good as you are and as well as you're playing, like sometimes it's just not your day. There's other guys just playing better than you, and it just comes down to luck. It's just crazy how thin the margins are in golf. It's insane.
True.
So Ryan, also, you have to see a lot of characters out there, right? Like, not everyone's out there. They're not all equal. I have to ask you about the Cowboy qualifier. I've been dying to ask you about this. For people who don't know, please let us know what this is all about.
Yeah, probably one of my favorite characters, because none of it is like shtick or anything. So yeah, there's plenty of characters. I got a picture from a guy playing a qualifier, and it was a picture of a guy in a full cowboy outfit, like black pants, a white starch, perfectly pressed, like riding shirt, the little clip, a full hat. He had a knife on his belt, and he was playing a pre-qualifier. So, like, I tracked the guy down, and legit, like, just a full-blown cowboy. I did a podcast with him, probably my favorite ever. I mean, he's just a full-blown character, but that's what he does. He's a cowboy. He had no business being out there. He shot like 84 or something. Yeah. And like was fixing ball marks with his knife.
That's what got me. Was the knife
broke his
Ball fi-
clubs on the
divot
last
fixer.
hole
Jesus.
out of anger. I mean, it was everything you would hope to be. Like, the guy needs his own reality show. So, every once in a while, him and I text, and I wish I wish I could like get a show of him on, because he's a legend.
Is he out there consistently, or was this just one event?
No, he's out there every once in a while. He
Okay.
always texts me. He had no idea how to, like, he heard about pre-qualifiers from a friend. He had no idea like how you become a professional golfer. He's like, "What's Q school? I don't know what that means." It was just like the dude was just living. Everyone's just oblivious to life.
That's incredible. All
You
right,
just
Ryan.
did
So
take
you
my
said
point.
that this year's Waste Management Phoenix Monday qualifier will be the greatest ever in tour history. You got to tell us about that. Why is it going to be the best in tour history?
Yeah. So the Waste Management, always a good field, the main field. So the Monday is always good. It's a short field, so most PGA Tour events are 156. This one's 132. It always has been, and so, just automatically you take 24 guys that would normally be in the PGA Tour field, assuming all of them want to play the Monday, and not all of them do, but most of them do. They're already in the Monday. But this year, so it's always been a good one. For that reason, this year it's an elevated event. So supposedly everybody in the top 30 in the world have to play in it. Everybody gets one spot or one trip, but most of the top players will play, and that isn't true most years. Some of the top players play, but not all of them. So not all of them. So you're gonna even go farther down the list. The guys that would normally be in the 132 player field wouldn't be, because the top players who don't normally play are playing. And then it's a $20 million purse. And I mean, who doesn't want a chance at a $6 million winning check? So, but it's always huge because it's played in Scottsdale. Scottsdale is where tons and tons of mini tour pros play. So guys that even don't chase qualifiers normally play that event, because it's, they can stay at home and save on the expenses. So total this year will be close to 1,000 players total. So there's 9 pre-qualifiers with about 80 players in each of those, and then the Monday I really think might approach 200 players, but we'll see. The Southwest section, Bill is his name. He's the director. He doesn't think it will get there, but it always is 135, 140 players anyway. So, all of those factors equal to probably the best Monday qualifier in the history of the PGA Tour. Now, I don't want to go too deep in the weeds, but pre-1986, most of the field was made up from a Monday qualifier. So those were obviously better in the scheme of things, but in this day and age, for sure.
And Ryan, you're going to be there. Like, you'll be on the ground for the Waste Management. Is this going to be your first? Have you been to Waste Management?
No, I've been to Waste Management before. Yeah, I've been to I think the Waste Management 3 times.
And when you're going to an event, are you staying for the whole week, or are you just there on a Monday and then out?
Yeah, usually Monday and out. This one I'm coming in a little bit earlier. I'm going to do some extra stuff prior to it, just because it's bigger. And then I have a speaking engagement. It's wild to say out loud, but I have that. And so I might stay a couple more days after, but yeah, normally I can do anything I want to do after. So, I follow up with the Monday qualifiers. But I know most of these guys, and I don't need to be on site. I'll just check in with them via text after around Thursday or Friday. And if there's any story to it, I'll have it.
Okay, right on. And kind of just switching gears here a little bit. Like, I think the thing for me that is the most amazing that you do is that you help out a lot of people, right? And you help out people that normally don't have the opportunities that we get as golfers, right? Like, we've all had a lot of great opportunities. I know myself, like, I've had many great opportunities to play this game and play some great courses and meet some really interesting people, but not everyone gets those opportunities. So recently, like, you teamed up with Callum Tarrant and Ben Griffin to provide kids with a round of golf at a TPC course, which is so great. I think that everyone should play a really nice course at some point in time, right? Like there are lots of municipal golf courses out there that you can play for a reasonable price, but I think everyone deserves to play a really nicely maintained and a really like expensive course once or twice in their life. So kind of just talk to me and to us about what this means for you and to have this platform and building all of these connections to be able to give back to people that normally don't get these opportunities.
Yeah, it's become by far the coolest part of what I do. It's the most rewarding. You know, those guys that you just talked about, you know, the kids that played TPC Sawgrass at Callum gave the passes to. One of the kids is 17, has had a couple of spine surgeries. You know, they're fine. They're fine as a family, but they would never be able to afford a golf course like this. And you know, you give people a, maybe not a once in a lifetime, but definitely once in a childhood opportunity. And it's cool. It's the coolest thing about the account. You know, a follower of mine, Chris Gallagher, wrote a check for $50,000 to start a foundation, and we help high school teams out. And you know, I can't say enough about the fact that the phone calls with parents or coaches or kids that have, you know, benefited from this stuff is makes it almost cooler for me than it is for them. It's there's no job in it, and I'm not I say it all the time, guys, is really I'm just a moderator, right? Like Callum and Ben, like they contacted me. It's not like I'm out reaching out to these players, but these good things build on themselves. You know, Callum started it, and Ben's like, "Oh man, I have two that I'm not going to use," and that started it. Some players have sent me clothes that I've sent to a lot of players. Like as soon as one player heard about it, another player did, and I'm to the point like I'm like, "Hey guys, you got to stop sending me stuff, you know, until I can get more kids and I can do it more streamlined."
Wow.
And so, you know, I think 99.9% of us are never going to play pro golf, but golf meant a lot to me. It taught a lot of lessons. One of the proudest things that we've been able to do is we helped out a high school team. Um, the the team was a school of kids that have been expelled from public schools and given a second chance as long as they meet parameters of grades and attendance and those kind of things. And I'm actually talking to her after, but young man got into the golf program and kind of turned around his life. And and he's back. He was taken out of his home. He's back in his home. He's back in public schools. His grades are good. His attendance is good. And you know, he sent me an email and was like, "Hey, I owe a lot of it to golf." And you know, I mean, I don't know what do I say to that. You know, it's the coolest thing ever. So uh on a big philosophy thing is I have a platform. I get to tweet and write about golf and make a living from it. Um, no one makes my schedule. I work from home or I travel to golf events, and I feel like I owe it back to the game. That's it.
It's incredible, man. You're doing what you love and you're helping a lot of people at the same time. I mean, it must feel awesome. And, you know, going back to how you teamed up with Callum and Ben, that opportunity actually led to the head of the Midland Golf University team reaching out to help one of the kids get a scholarship. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that is what it does, right? It's like I just have a platform and all these amazing people continue to do it. And it's just social media gets a bad rap, and I understand it. I'm in the middle of it sometimes. I understand it's not the greatest place on earth, but it is powerful at times in the right direction. And yeah, that's a former player who's the head coach at Midland, and they're talking about a golf scholarship. And you know, it's just again, I'm only making connections. You know, I'm the mediator. All these people are doing. I just think that it gives me a lot of hope. There's a lot of negative stuff in the world, and I think when you boil it down, a lot more good people than there are bad.
Yeah, no, it's such a good point, man. And I think like you said, right, this is one of these amazing things that you get to do given this opportunity, and given the following that you've built up, is you've been able to kind of give back. And another side of that too, right, is giving back to players and helping players find accommodations, right, and getting them settled ahead of these events. Like, how big of a deal is that for them to be able to have some peace of mind before they head into these qualifiers, which often can be like the biggest pressure moments of their lives, right?
Yeah. The financial aspect of golf is weighted heavily to the top players in the world. And there isn't a lot of money left for the other people. And so yeah, I mean, if I can help in any small way, again, I just had someone reach out and was like, "Hey, I have a house for waste management. Happy to give it to players." Yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys, if they Monday qualify for the waste management, it's a scramble to get rid of your car or extend your car or find a hotel, and especially that week is going to be miserable because it's the Super Bowl weekend and it's a financial. I mean, you're talking about that week. I put up a post and I just went on Expedia and put in the dates. And Best Western is charging $700 a night, right? So it's like it's $5,000, $6,000. You pay a caddy, that's another $1,500. You get a courtesy car, so that's taken care of. But meals, you're talking about $10,000 in 1 week. And so to arrange for that player to sleep on a couch or a room in someone's house or whatever save some $5-6 grand. And Lee Trevino quote about it's stress is putting for $10 when you only have $5 in your pocket or whatever that is like when you're putting for. I'm not discounting the pressure that say Colin Morikawa was under as he's like losing this lead. It is pressure, there's no doubt about that. But when you're standing over a putt and it's for your rent, that's pressure.
Yeah, that hits different.
That's pressure. Mark has a kid and a wife, and he has bills to pay. And when you're talking about putts that are $10,000, that pays his rent for 5 months, and he lives in a 1-bedroom apartment. And so, if I can alleviate that in any way, then that's awesome.
Sometimes you're on the course with your buddies playing for money or something like that, and you think you feel nervous over a 3-footer, and then these guys are playing for their PGA, or not even their PGA Tour lives, just their professional golf lives. Trying to hit a 3-footer to make 10 grand or to qualify for a tournament. It's wild to think about, honestly, some of the pressures that these guys are under. Ryan, since you started this journey, I know there's a lot that you can probably choose from, but what has surprised you the most since starting Monday Q Info?
I wouldn't even know where to begin. All of it is insane. The fact that people ask me to be on podcasts, I have no idea where to begin. I really try my best to block out a lot of the stuff that has happened because I really don't know how to process a lot of it. I mean, again, I cannot explain how little there was no expectations, like zero expectations. I never even thought for 1 second, what if this becomes a thing? Like never. So all of it, I have a foundation. I've helped raise over $100,000 for players. I don't even know where to begin. All of it is crazy.
So Ryan, earlier you mentioned that you're your father of 2. If your kids came to you, I don't know if they play golf, but if they came to you and they said, "Dad, you know what? I want to be a professional golfer," what advice would you give them?
I'd tell them to quit. I use a quote by C.D. Hockersmith, who's now a college coach. We were in a Monday qualifier, and we're actually mic'd up for the PGA Tour, but it didn't it was a very natural conversation. And CD said, "It's almost a curse to be good. Like, if you're not a top player in the world, but you're good enough that you should chase the PGA Tour, like that's kind of a curse. Like, you either want to be good enough, like bad enough to know you have no chance, or a top player, like a top 50 player in the world, right? Like everybody else, like everybody goes like, oh, the guy who's 100th made $1 million. Yeah, but he could lose his card next week, and of that $1 million, he's paid his caddy and his agent, blah blah blah. So $1 million just once doesn't go that far, and so I would tell them to quit. Like no one wants to. It's not a great life. And to be fair, like I say this every time I'm on a podcast. I'm not trying to, like, this is true first world problems. These guys could all go get a club pro job or some other job.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to say it's not as glamorous as people think.
No, it's totally fair. I think about the same things. I know because me and Wade, we work in media and how cutthroat this business can be.
Right.
And I almost feel the same way. Like when people want to pursue a career in media, I'm like, just go do anything else
Yeah.
but this. I promise you.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of headaches along the way.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Everybody who sees people on the PGA Tour like collecting big checks, they don't see, playing a crappy course on a pre-qualifier that you just paid $500 to play, and missing a 6-footer on the last hole to miss out and understand you're $1,500 in the hole.
It's unbelievable. So Ryan, in Canada, obviously we all know Corey Connors, Mackenzie Hughes, some of the best Canadian golfers, and Corey Connors specifically is a guy that Monday queued, won the Valero. Like it's incredible. Now he's, one of the better players in the world. I don't want to say he's an elite player, but Corey Connors is a really good golfer. If you had to choose one player who you think could be the next Corey Connors to Monday qualify, win the same week, and then even go on to be, one of the top, let's say 50 to 75 players in the world, who would that be?
That's a really good question. I mean, Corey is a great example. I mean, you see a lot of guys, that have PGA Tour status that have to be a Monday qualifier. So, it's hard to, like, Steve or Corey was like he's a great player, but he was a PGA Tour member at the time when he got it. So there's tons of those guys. Let me think. I'm going to say Brady Calkins. Brady's kind of a legend in the mini tour world. He now has Korn Ferry status, but you'll see him at some Mondays. Super talented, a character. He's a really talented dude. So I'm going to say Brady.
All right, you heard it here first. That's the next dude.
Brady's got to step up. He's the next Corey Connors. Everyone,
I'll text him
an eye on that. Yeah. Let him know he's the next Corey Connors, and that the pressure's on next time he Monday cues. We're expecting a win.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So you talked a little bit, Ryan, about playing golf growing up. What was your home course growing up? Where was your stomping grounds? Was it everywhere, or did you play the same course all the time?
No, I played the same course most of my life, outside of a few junior tournaments in high school and college and those things. But yeah, Alpena Golf Club is like just straight out of a blueprint, Muni course, short and okay taken care of. It's actually gotten way better. I now am back helping with my father and playing there, and it's in really pretty good shape. But yeah, just a classic Muni. Front nine's wide open and super short. Spray it where you want, and the back nine has a few trees but super short. And yeah, it's great. I love it.
How's your golf game looking?
This is the first time since I've had kids that I played a lot, and so yeah, I used to play college golf. I was close to a scratch at one time, and then I basically stopped playing golf for 10 years outside of a few times here and there. But
wow.
I started to play a little more as the account grew, and I got more. People would invite me out to their club or whatever. But last year I played the most I've ever played, and it was good. Yeah, I do have the chipping yips, so I got to fix that. If I ever do, then we'll have a chance to get back to close to. But with those, it's bad news right now.
Yeah, I can relate to the chipping yips. I know where you're coming from when it comes to the chipping.
Bruno's really bad.
On that.
Bruno's
and
really
Wade
bad with
can
the chipping
attest to
yips.
that.
Yeah.
But just switching gears a little bit, we know that you've done a lot of work with the Bobby Jones Society. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. My son has Chiari malformation. Um, Bobby Jones had it. I always make this somewhat inappropriate joke. Just be careful when you wish that your kid is like Bobby Jones. Um, but he has Bobby had Chiari malformation at the end of his life, and they didn't really know what it was back then, and now the foundation is called that. So yeah, Jackson had brain surgery when he was 2, and it's just a constant in your life. I say all the time, guys, is I'm glad we went through it. We continue to go through it. He's having some troubles right now as we speak, but if you we spend a lot of time in a children's hospital. If you go into a children's hospital and not gain some perspective that your stuff isn't as bad as everybody else's, then you've kind of lost the plot in life. And so we went in there feeling pretty sorry for ourselves and left feeling pretty good about ourselves. And it's the reason I'm here. It's the reason I have an appreciation for the things I'm able to do. So I wish my son didn't have to go through it, but I'm glad he did. And knowing that he made it through. Yeah, the Bobby Jones Foundation is the Chiari Foundation. It's obviously a huge part of our life.
Yeah, that's great, man. So sorry to hear he's not doing so great at the moment, and he's kind of going through some stuff. But
good. Thank you.
Yeah, it's got to be tough, right? Like I saw it. Like my brother had cancer when he was very young, and you just can't comprehend it. You can't comprehend someone so close to you, and also like so young, going through so much, right? And I think that to be able to give back and to be able to support these charities and to be able to, give to people who necessarily can't provide for themselves or are just going through a tough time, right? I think that's so important. So the fact that you guys are able to power through that as a family is really relatable, I guess I would say. And
Yeah,
I think that we wish you all the best with that for sure. But we don't want to end this on a sour note. And we're glad to hear everyone's doing well. That's the most important thing, is that everyone's doing well. So we're glad to hear that. Yeah, definitely don't want to end this on a sour note. I would say for our last question here, we're going to shift a little bit to darts. So
yeah,
I read that
I love it.
You are getting into darts. Is this a thing?
I love darts. Like, okay. It has many qualities of golf. Like, it is basically, there's a Q school. It's financially stupid to go to try to play darts professionally. There's Monday qualifiers, and then there's the top players in the world, and everybody's a dreamer. Like the Monday qualify. The Q school had, like, if I remember right, like 600 players or something.
Oh my god!
And it's like everybody's a dreamer, and it's a lot cheaper to play darts, obviously, but yeah, it's great. I love sports where, like, you can go from, I'm sure there's some great dart player. I don't know enough about darts. Like, I can recognize a few top players now and those kind of things, but like, I'm sure there's some great dude that plays at some bar, and like, how cool would it be if he Monday qualifies and then wins a dart tournament? The World Championship of Darts just gave out £500,000 for the winner, right? So it's like, how cool would it be if some, like, dude just, made it? So my goal one day, there's Monday qualifiers in bowling also, is to, like, do a story on, go to a bowling Monday qualifier, I've obviously been to a ton of golf Monday qualifiers, and then a darts Monday qualifier, and just compare the character. I assume they're all very linear and very, like, there's going to be characters, there's going to be guys who should have made it who haven't, there's going to be the same things that happen in golf, in bowling, and in darts, I would assume.
So we can expect a Monday Q Info darts edition.
100%.
Okay.
One of the great things about Twitter is, like, it blows my mind often. But 3 years ago, some guy went onto Twitter and took the handle "a case of the darts one," and I tweeted, like, 2 months ago or a month ago that I love darts, and he sent me a message like, I've been waiting for this moment for 3 years. And I'm like, what? It's just wild things that happen on Twitter. But yeah, I will never be able to get the handle, or I'm sure I can buy that guy off. But yeah, a case of the darts 1 is taken, unfortunately.
By the way, speaking of darts, have you guys seen that viral video? I saw it on Twitter first that they're calling the best leg of all time from the
Yeah, it's unreal.
2023 Darts World Championship. That was nuts.
Unreal. Really unreal.
I just love how the announcers just get so fired up. Like, I think about, like, for example, with football, I think of like Gus Johnson.
Yeah.
Like, he just has like these insane calls over the years. But my goodness, watching the World Darts
guys were going
Championship
insane.
and the play-by-play guy.
I mean, like,
It's
darts
out
is
of
becoming
control.
mainstream. I mean, like, that tweet had like, I don't even know, like 30,000 retweets or something. And it's like, I didn't even know a lot of people cared,
Yeah.
And I mean, everyone was commenting on it. I mean, like spitting chicklets and, like golf, everybody at Barstool. I mean, every genre of Twitter was like blowing up on darts. So, yeah, it's a cool sport.
I guess that's the future of sports then.
Yeah,
Is darts.
things you can play with a cigarette.
Awesome, Ryan. Well, just quickly before we go, please remind everyone who's listening and watching where they can find you and to follow along on your journey this season.
Yeah, Fire Pit Collective and Monday Q Info on Twitter. Yeah, telling stories of guys and girls chasing the top tubers in the world. So
Awesome.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, Ryan, thanks so much. It's been great. Thank you for spending some time with us, and good luck the rest of the season. And hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks,
Awesome.
guys.
Take care, man.
Thanks, Ryan.